All right, well, the corner of 8th and Broadway houses not one, but two museums showcasing Kansas City history. I had the chance to visit them. Take a look. When you come down to visit the Garment Museum, you start over in the Kansas City Museum. Kind of walk us through the process and what this is over on this side and what we can expect over in the Garment Museum.
Sure. We took over the Garment District Museum in 2015, which coincidentally was about the time we were making plans for the renovation of our Kansas City Museum over on Gladstone Boulevard.
Okay.
We've been there since 1940, so we just fortuitously found this great space right across the street at 8th and Broadway and thought, what a great place to have a satellite space. We're just right here. We're keeping the Garment District open, so why not have our own presence here?
What can people see here on this side, here in the Kansas City Museum part of it?
This part, since we're down here in the Garment District, we're concentrating on fashion exhibits. We've done 3 so far. The one we have up currently is T-shirt history.
Yeah.
And it's a great combination of Kansas City history and T-shirt history from the 40s to the present. And in the past, we did one recently on menswear, because menswear was one of the important and just things that were manufactured in the Garment District, men's suits, coats. So we did something on the history of menswear through the 20th century that we could show in our collection.
Now, since you guys are under renovation, when are you anticipating reopening the old location?
Well, it's all tentative. We're hoping to reopen in 2020. I think people are going to be surprised and proud of what they see. And I always say every generation of Kansas Citian has their own vision of the Kansas City Museum, and this will be a new one for a new generation.
Well, I definitely remember going to the Kansas City Museum as a kid. You know, growing up, that was one of the staple field trips you went on. It was always to the Kansas City Museum. I don't think you really grew up in Kansas City if you didn't take the yellow bus and go over there for at least an afternoon.
It's true.
And our next field trip, minus the yellow bus, is going to be crossing Broadway. We're going to check out the Garment District Museum. That's coming up next. Hey, in the area of 8th and Broadway, it used to be home to several large clothing manufacturers. And showcasing that history is the Kansas City Garment District Museum. I had the chance to take a visit and check it out. So we started out this morning at 800 Broadway. Now we've jumped across the street to 801 Broadway. And we're in the Garment History Museum here. Now, this museum was founded by 2 folks that used to work in the Garment District. Can you tell us about them and how they started this museum?
Sure. Anne Brownfield and Harvey Freed were both part of the Garment District. They both wanted to keep that memory alive. They saw a lot of changes on Broadway. They saw a lot of changes happening in their city and to their industry, and it was all going away. So both Anne and Harvey worked together to create this small space. The first thing they did, though, was the city was creating a small little park space at 8th and Broadway, and they worked to get what's known as the Needle statue erected, and it was to commemorate the Garment District. And from there, they worked to create this small museum, which they opened in the mid-2000s. And so this space really had their mark on them because they were able to give their own stories to the people that came through and talked about the Garment District in a really personal way. It wasn't just museum curators interpreting things on the wall. They could actually walk people through. They did walking tours. They had this small space and really single-handedly kept the Garment District alive for a lot of people. The collection has a little over 400 pieces in it. By 2014-13, they were ready to retire again. And wanted to see it continue and put in good hands. And they looked to us. We were getting ready to move over to the Parks and Rec, and with the park being close by, it just seemed like a natural fit.
Well, there's some great pieces here. Like over here, for example, are some of what looks like to be some of the original sewing machines they might have used here. And I think Singer is almost synonymous with sewing machines, right?
It is, and Singer is also synonymous with the lines that were used, like in a factory, were almost always Singer.
So almost exclusively that brand of sewing machines. Interesting. Now, a lot of the clothing on display here right now are women's attire, but that changes throughout the year?
Yeah, we changed the look of the museum in terms of the clothing seasonally. We've got around the corner a man's suit coat, on display. Not a lot of men's clothing, unfortunately, in the collection.
Yeah.
The earliest piece we have here is a Nellie Don piece, this blue dress. But you have to remember something, Nellie Don wasn't in the garment district.
Yeah.
She's the best known and most remembered, well-remembered garment manufacturer in Kansas City, but she wasn't part of the district. She had two different factories over the years. But so Nellie Don is probably the best known, and we do have a lot of Nellie Don in the collection.
There's so much history down here in the garment district. Thanks for taking time for showing me around today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You know, it's such an incredible part of Kansas City history down there. And did you know that Henry Perry, who is the father of Kansas City style barbecue, got his start back in the early 1900s selling from a stand in the garment district?